Hi, my name is Alex Firestine, and this is the Montgomery County Gang Intervention Model. On a nationwide scale, government crackdown on gang activity has increased over the past couple of years, with gangs like MS-13 making national headlines. Montgomery County has made great strides in gang prevention, including the establishment of the gang unit in the Montgomery County Police Department. However, there have been an increase in violent crimes in Montgomery County over the past couple of years, as well as an increase in alleged gang-related crime. 75% of all gang-related crime in 2017 in Montgomery County was committed by youth. A few definitions before we get started. A gang is defined by an association of 3 or more individuals who are dedicated to criminal activity. This differentiates them from a normal social club and makes them unprosecutable because one cannot be arrested for simply being in a gang. It is not until they commit the crime. In addition, a model is defined by a system that is replicable in a different society. In addition, it's a theoretical description of a system, which is what I will be combining in formulating my model. I'll be pulling components of models that have already been established in order to replicate them in Montgomery County, and I'll be proposing how this model will be effective within the county. My research question is what government model can be implemented into high-risk communities in Montgomery County to combat gang recruitment, and how will this model be effective? My research method is a 2-pronged meta-analysis. First, I will analyze crime data from Montgomery County in order to establish which areas are most high risk for gang activity and gang recruitment. The second prong looks on a more broader scale, where I'll be taking national studies and seeing how those intervention models had an impact on the crime rate in each community. In a sense, I'll be taking all the data from those studies and applying it to Montgomery County. Finally, my third subcomponent is the fiscal proposal, which I will derive from programs that are already established across the nation and community organizations within Montgomery County. In addition, Montgomery County does not have any programs that specifically target gang recruitment. The first prong will establish which communities in Montgomery County are high risk. I will be looking at crime data in Montgomery County as a whole. I've gained access to data in Montgomery where I can see crime data which boils down to street. I will refilter this data in order to determine the crime density of the crimes that I will deem most likely to be committed by gangs. This comes from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention within the U.S. Department of Justice. These sets of crimes, like robbery, homicide, and drug trafficking, are most commonly associated with gangs. I will filter out just those crimes in this Montgomery County crime database and then calculate crime density. Then, from there, I will elect 2 districts with the most dense rate of crime, as there are 6 districts in Montgomery County. Within those districts, I will establish where the pinnacle of the criminal activity is in order so I can formulate the target of my gang model. Finally, in order to solidify my conclusions, I will cross-reference my mapping of density with the density map from the gang unit in 2017 of their known gang-related crimes. The second prong introduces data from different studies, where I will be taking data from different components of studies conducted across the U.S. and applying them to Montgomery County. The first being the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention in the U.S. Department of Justice. They committed a study where they studied 4 different cities with different criminal climates and saw how their comprehensive gang model fared in each city. In addition, I'll be looking at 2 independent models, one in LA, to determine which of those will also be most effective in Montgomery County. In order to compare Montgomery County to these cities, I will look at the crime data from Montgomery County, the density that I already calculated, and the crime data in each of the cities. From there, I will pull components of the model from each of these different studies and see which ones will be most effective in Montgomery County in the similar cities. Finally, the fiscal proposal includes data from both the nationwide comprehensive models and our community organizations within Montgomery County. The nationwide comprehensive models, the one that I deemed similar to Montgomery County, and aspects of each model that I deemed effective in Montgomery County, like programs like a recreational youth basketball league and such, that may be effective in the different districts that I elected most high risk. We will see where that fiscal justification comes from. So, where they can fiscally justify each of the components, each fiscal justification, that's where we implement it and where we include in our proposal. Second, we will gather data from community organizations already established within Montgomery County, like delinquency intervention programs and drug abuse programs. See where they get their grants from the Montgomery County, like the board, and their enrollment data in relation to how much grant money they receive. Finally, we will explore a new aspect which Montgomery County has not looked at before, where it is social impact bonds, which focuses on crowdsourcing money in order to fund these community organizations and these programs. Finally, some of my assumptions and my limitations are that I'm assuming that the most effective way to combat gangs is through combating gang recruitment of youth. You see, a gang is born in a community and it's rooted in the community, so simple gang apprehension tactics are not usually as effective, especially when it comes to youth. Now, the way to destroy a gang is to create a stigma around it within the community that it's some negative aspect. For the most part, youth turn to gangs as this form of reliance and this form of survival tactics. So if we can take out that stigma or take out that necessity of joining a gang for youth and introduce them to new programs and career building activities, it could bode positively for their development and steer them away from gangs, which is why I will be just looking at community intervention tactics, which Montgomery County has not explored before, as we have explored more apprehensive tactics. Some of my limitations include that I'm limited by the quantity and the quality of the studies that I'll be looking at. So a lot of these studies, they're conducted from 1999 to 2005, 2007, around the early 2000s. A lot of up-to-date studies have not been conducted in regards to gangs, at least community intervention studies. So I'll be limited by the ones that I have access to. In addition, no city is going to be exactly like Montgomery County. So in order to make sure I can account for this statistical discrepancy, I will include data from community organizations and their impact on Montgomery County, like proposed gang intervention programs in the past or intervention programs that deal with stuff that isn't to do with gangs, such as drugs or just violence in general. Finally, some sources of information is I'm going to gather most of my crime data on Montgomery County from Data Montgomery, which I've gained access to through the police department. I've gained access to specific subsets that label gang crimes as gang related and including the overall active crime dataset. I acquired data about the studies on a national level from the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, and their studies they did on each 5. It includes a memorandum and write-ups about the assessment of each of their implementations. As for the 2 independent studies, both have been published in scholarly journals, and I will gather and assess their data and their findings in relation to Montgomery County. I will devise all of this and pull all the information and compile it in one succinct model. And that's it. Thank you for listening.